All right, folks, I have with me on the phone Gil Broussard. Of course, he has done extensive study on Planet 7X, a theory that he has worked on based on factual information that he has uncovered that dates way back almost 1,000 years in China and other factual information in Europe, and how it overlays biblical events that have taken place in the Bible. It's extraordinary. Gil, great to have you on this. Thank you for this time. I know you're very busy.
Well, thank you, Paul, for having me.
Gil, one of the questions I want to get to right now is today is August 10th. And I remember when I had you on my show back on December the 7th, and we talked about the entire Planet 7X. And I believe it was today, August 10th, that Planet 7X is supposed to enter into some type of orbital plane. What is that? Can you tell us what that means today?
Well, it doesn't enter into the orbital plane. It's already on Earth's orbital plane. It's already, that's like the flat top of the table.
Okay.
So its orbit, its exit and its entry stays on that plane, which is equal to Earth's planetary plane. This is the only way that we can receive a double meteor shower that's mentioned in the Bible, and that's also mentioned in the Chinese records.
Wow. So it's already in the orbital plane. It's just, is it got any closer? I mean, help me understand this a minute.
Yeah, well, every day, every hour, it gets closer. Yeah, it was created on the same planetary plane as Earth. Okay, so that's why it's it's off the planetary plane by 2/1000th of a degree. If a debris field will miss us. So that's why, with that just small fraction, for us to have a meteor shower twice, it has to be right on the planetary plane of Earth.
So now we have been seeing more meteorites, Gil. I mean, and a lot more, and over this year, have we entered yet into? Has the Earth entered yet into Planet 7X's debris field?
No.
And when do you? Is that the 150 days that we talked about before? It's before that arrives.
No, it's after it crosses Earth's orbital path. Earth has a path around the sun. When it crosses Earth's path and then it rounds the sun, then we'll cross into the first debris field around in March. Then 150 days later, we'll cross into the second debris field that's left behind from its previous path on crossing Earth's path. So it's 150 to 152 days apart. Okay, so
the first time we enter its path will be, I believe, March 26, 2016, Passover, next spring.
Yes, I don't have a crystal ball.
I know.
I can't predict the future. I'm just pointing out that there's a date that greatly concerns me in Revelation. That's Revelation 12:1. Because he's given us a date using astronomical terms.
Okay.
And when we look at the astronomy model, it gives us a date of March 26, 2016. And all I say is follow the pattern of its entry and exit of this object in the past throughout the biblical and Chinese records. So it greatly concerns me, that date. It's about as strong as I can.
Yeah. And it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense, because here's what it is. Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. You're saying that this astronomical, this celestial wonder will actually take place on March 26, 2016, that the stars are being aligned for this?
Yes, and I can even go further, that it's impossible for people 2,000 years ago to take a random date out of the blue to give us that matches all of the parameters that we have to add to this in the Bible. even if I gave them the software, they could not give us an accurate date.
Wow.
As accurate as they gave us in Revelation.
Wow. So in other words, you're saying if 2,000 years ago you could hand John the Revelator or the greatest astronomers of that day a computer software system, said, here, can you figure out the date? They couldn't figure it out through computer. The best way to figure out this event is Revelation 12:1.
That date is given to us by some divine being who's able to tell time and place. It's not given to us by man. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
I believe that.
If I gave man software to do this, they would not be able to do it. They would not be able to, because I can give you examples. The constellation shifts over every 2,100 years. At the time of Yeshua for Passover, it was the constellation Libra. That meant judgment. Okay. Today it is the woman, Virgo. Then you have the moon that has 29.5-day orbit. Then you have Jupiter that has 11-point-something year orbit. And then you're dealing with the tilt of the moon that has another, I forgot how many years, maybe 8 years or more, orbit that goes around, that has to bring it right at the foot of Virgo. Now keep in mind that this was given to us 2,000 years ago, and that zero did not exist yet.
Right.
And that it didn't have any decimal places, and you needed a decimal place of 4 to get this accurate enough just to paint the picture. They still couldn't get it right.
Right.
Because we have a wild card that the planet does not have a stable orbit. So how could they guess 4 passings or 4 or 5 passings later when it would be not to the day but to the hour, and calculate that the Earth would have a 12-hour rotational delay, and this was the viewpoint at mid of night from Jerusalem.
So in other words, Revelation, there's no way to calculate. They couldn't have calculated this, even if they had the formula, because they weren't even in the decimal points yet. They couldn't have put these. You're saying that you got all these moving parts, and the orbital track of planet 7X is not. It's a oblong orbital track. And so, how many times do you think it has passed by so far in history? Gil, take us back a little ways.
Well, there's about 14 incidences in the Bible, but around 12 actual passings that those 14 incidents happen. Okay. Then there's about maybe 8 secular or so. That's a rough estimate right now. I don't have the papers in front of me. But that's how many that I've been able to record since the time of Noah. Okay.
So since Noah, about 14 passes, or maybe 20. Is that right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. And it varies. It varies, too. It's not exactly like 333 years every 333. It's not like Halley's Comet every 75 years. You're saying it has some variation because of its weird oblong or is that, I mean, why would it vary from like 319 to 300, let's say, in 65 years? I mean, there's some variance. Is it because of its...
I can give you just the example, okay?
Okay.
Now, I don't have my papers in front of me.
That's okay. That's okay.
But I'm going to give you some rough numbers, okay?
Okay.
Remember the 3 days of darkness during Exodus?
Yes.
3
yes.
days of darkness. This
yes.
is very similar to the 3 hours of darkness during Yeshua's
yes.
sacrifice. But why the difference in span of time?
Yes.
Is because when Ceres came in, when planet 7X was coming in, it collided with Ceres, destroying that planet, slowing its forward speed by 1/20th. So when it came around the sun and got between the sun and Earth, he gave us 3 days of darkness instead of 3 hours of darkness.
Wow.
And that explains why Joshua, which is only like 54 years later, Joshua's long day was such a short time span before it arrived again. It didn't have the speed or the momentum to carry it into deep space. It came back around earlier, had to go back around the sun to pick up more speed. Then it came to Ruth. Okay, where remember it had drought and it was on a Jubilee to where she got to land back.
Yes.
It went back around. It took 4 trips around the sun before it gained its normal, what I call its normal orbit of roughly 360. And the final, when it gained its normal speed, it came by around Hezekiah's time when the calendar changed. The calendar changed from 360-day years to 365 and a quarter.
Yeah.
I think there's over 80-something countries that documented the calendar being changed around that time.
Okay.
And
okay.
So it depends on what
Let me ask you a question. All right, let's say your calculations are correct. Let's say they are, and that planet 7X is going to come around the sun. Will we have 3 hours of darkness? Will we have 3 days of darkness? Or what is your estimate will be the effect on us this time?
We won't have 3 days or 3 hours, but we will have a double eclipse, and it'll amount to maybe, it's going to be longer than a normal eclipse. There's a software, my software has an error in it, so I can't reproduce there's about a 12-hour error in Starry Night that I found, so I can't reproduce the eclipse that I'm expecting to happen when it comes between us and the sun, when Earth is passing into the tail of this comet-like object. This object, I would define it as a planet/comet. It's going to be a new category. It has a tail like a comet.